the moment you are born in a family, your fate or large portions, large decisions, most of the decisions in your life are actually automatically settled with that. So it's sort of the outer boundary, it's a fixed in, and you can operate within that boundary. Second question, what was the syllabus for the 5 years? We human beings are so, passionate to teach. So the moment we find any baby, we start teaching. So what was your syllabus? And at least in the first 3 years, I hope nobody taught you ABCD or something, 1, 2, 3, 4. So for the first years, the most important challenge for the baby is you need to tell him or her that it's you. For example, I got a baby, my name of my baby is Shipra. So first I will call her Shipra. So she's looking around, who is Shipra? So well, you are Shipra. How much time it take, for the baby to know that, okay, it's me. Everybody is calling me with this name, so it's me. So the syllabus for the first 5 years, it's basically we teach relations, Mama, Papa, Chacha, Uncle, Aunt, Brother, Sister, so many things are there. We start with the relation. And because we understand in human sphere, everything is a relation. Whenever you come across with any new person, so we always try to establish a relation. And somewhere in the Western country, the life is very settled. You got a father, mother, brother, sister, and then others are uncle and aunt. Things are cool. But in an Indian subcontinent, India, Pakistan, etc., we have a name for every single relation. Okay, so every single thing they got a relation, and new things come up after marriage. You are got more relations after the marriage. So, well, in this lecture, we'll talk a lot about ourselves. I will talk a lot about the marriage, about the general things, maybe movies, maybe history. So we'll talk about that, and in between, we'll talk about the research or the statistics also. So coming to research, now my point is, about the human life, it's a working, it's a doing, so the people, their relation, everything. Just think of a variable as a person. So I'm just saying, my submission is research is the replica of human life. So what it means, instead of a person, now we have a variable. So think of the first person who on the planet said, well, it's time. I have never seen doggies or monkeys or donkeys or anybody else worrying about the time, that they don't look at the time that, okay, it's time to go there in next colony. No, they don't worry about the time. So who was there must have been some person who said, there is a time, the concept of time. Well, it's okay. Every species know there is a day and a light. We are basically, the life is because of sun. That's okay. But I'm talking in terms of month, fortnight, making the leap year, making the year. This is really very tricky things. And it's not like one person has done it. Over the generations, maybe some centuries it has taken to understand or formulate certain replicable patterns and then give certain things. That is the variable. So right from the start, friends, we are concerned with, there are two sort of the things we have. One thing that we can manage. The second thing we can't manage. For example, the sun rises in the east. So I can't do anything about it. So I give a name that wherever, sun starts after the darkness, that direction will be called east, and accordingly others are northwest, etc. But intelligence of my baby, height of my baby, these are always the things which I think I can, operate on. I can minutely, I can change. I can make certain intervention. So these are called as the variable. Anything that varies. Please remember, whenever we talk about the statistics, whenever we talk about the research, center point is always a variable. Ability to vary, that's the name is variable. Okay. So we have a name of the variable. Now the variables, just like the human beings, they never live alone. Never ever possible. So variables always live in a circle, just like we human beings live in a circle. For example, if you are studying about stress, so it's not possible that you are studying about the stress and performance will not come nearby. You take any sort of the book, one way or other, you can call performance by some other names, you can call it as effect, etc., consequence of stress, but that stuff will always come nearby. You are reading about stress, but you will always find consequences there. So I want you to please try to take every variable as a person. Now, if I'll ask you that, can you recall 5 of your cousins. So you need not to really think about it, my mother, mother's brother, brother's daughter. No, you don't think like this. Simply say A, B, C, D, E. So likewise, I want you to, whatever area you are working in, can you just give name of 10 variables? Just like name of your friends. You need to be very, very comfortable. So the basic point I am raising here is I am submitting, don't do research, live in the research. Just like we live in the human life, we don't do something, we live in the human life in day to day. So live in this research. So think of your variables as your very good friends, as all sort of your cousins. Now these are always related. Now now this comes really interesting. See, the same person differently, comes differently in our life. For example, I see most of the time the lady is working, and if she is working in school, her first preference will be, okay, nice time. So first preference will be that my babies, my kids will study in my school. Okay, so what it means, that my babies will study in my school. Now she got a double role. She's a mother, but in the school she is ma'am. She's not a mother in the school. She is a madam in the school, but later she is a mother. Okay, now that's what I'm saying as the relation. The variables can have different sort of relationship, and this is really interesting. It can be dependent variable, independent variable. It can be mediator, moderator, and so many other control variables. So we'll talk about them also, how the relationships they behave. So I call the variables also live in a family, and the family is called as the model. So let's do first thing. First, let's put our terminology correct. Vis-a-vis a human life, let's try to understand that. So we got a person in human life, and in research we got a variable. The second thing, the people, the persons, they are always having some sort of relationship. So the relationship in research will be called as hypothesis. So a hypothesis is simply relation between the two. So at least a statistical hypothesis is always a relation between the two variables, two or more variables. Okay. Then these relations have some sort of, some societal norms are there, some sanction are there. See, mathematically, if I'll say A is related to B, it means B is also related to A. That's correct. But when it comes to society, there are certain areas, like in every culture, there are certain do's and don'ts for marriage. So that I'm saying, societal norms operating something, some boundary conditions. In research, that's called as the theory. So theory will tell you, no, these are related, but this is dependent and this is independent. That will come from the theory. We'll talk about it. Then total of the summation of all the people will be called as the family, and summation of all the variables is called as the model. And then if you look here, what is missing? What is missing here is, you got in a family, when we talk about the new model, for example, marriage. So we call it as the gaps in the model. So gaps in the model means, so why a new relationship is required? Why a new variable is required? So when you grow up, you have to sell the idea that I must get married. So that idea is basically need for the study or the gaps in the model. So let's visit the family of a variable. So just like you can visit my family, I will ask you, okay, well, meet my father, my mother, my siblings, etc. So likewise, let's visit a family. So this is a family in which these sort of people they live in. So there's an attitude, there's a subjective norm, behavioral intention, and behavior. And now this is called as the theory of reasoned action, given by Fishman. Some modifications was done, 67, 73, 75, etc. Now after 75, for the next 10 years, people thought of that, when we are reading it, we find this perceived behavioral control also is hanging around these people. So maybe when we study about behavioral control is always nearby. So it may be from one domain, it may be some other domain, but it's happening that whenever we are talking about it, this person or this variable is always found to be nearby. So is it affecting it? So see, the moment I will put an arrow, what is happening? So it's something like a marriage is happening. So certainly the theory of reasoned action will change. The moment I put an arrow, now the name becomes the theory of planned behavior, given by Eswen, etc. And now this is the way we start with. So you should always start with a theory. And with the theory, what is there inside the theory? Inside the theory, there are variables. Variables are related. There may be context. There may be some background things. So you must start with that. But again, remember, from the statistical point of view, at the end at the center is a variable. So these are the variables: attitude or behavior. If you say everybody's attitude is same, certainly it's not a behavior. It will be constant then. It will not be variable. It will be constant. So subjective norm, behavior, behavioral intention, etc., they need to be a variable. Okay. So where you can learn the theories from? So I will give you 2-3 sources. The first one is learn the theories from, this is a web page. This page is theories used in IS research, Wikipedia, they have prepared it. So whatever this presentation will be shared with you at the end of this session. I have made all this sort of images, screenshot as the link. It's a hyperlink. If you click directly, so it might be possible that you are not able to read this, absolutely no problem. So you can click and you will directly go to this sort of wiki pages there. Likewise, I will introduce you Professor Sajid Bashir. He's a wonderful, wonderful person who is doing, so great service to the research community. He's from Pakistan and he works in Naval Institute as head of the department. So he has this research group on the Facebook. More than, I think it's 2,000 members are there. I'm not able to study it properly. 2,000 or so members are there. And he often conducts these workshops. So just recently he conducted this workshop on September 12th. He conducted unique theories of organization behavior applications, etc. So he often conducts this workshop. I will strongly urge you to join his group and get benefited from his knowledge. He also operates, there's a group, thesis, dissertation and research help, and videos are there. These are wonderful videos about how to choose a topic, how to publish the paper in the top, the most demanding topics. Most of the scholars are looking for these, and how to make the PhD proposal in 3 steps, etc. All sort of stuff you can refer. I will request Professor Bashir also to put more of the videos. As of now, I can see 10 videos here. If you can put more of the videos, that will be really helpful for the academic community. Coming back, this nice drawing, this was actually that Milky Way. Some of the participant was making this Milky Way galaxy. Coming back to the review of literature. So when we talk about the review of literature, our understanding is a review is something which puts it on sleep. No. Okay, is it really so? Let's try to think over it. I was talking to a girl, one of my students. I asked her, how strange is it that you get married to a completely unknown person? So how it seems? So she said, no, sir, it's not like that. We never marry to a completely unknown person. So the moment the alliance is finalized, we start, we read his or maybe her for the boy Facebook profile, the Instagram profile. We take several rounds of telephonic interview, maybe for several months we take this, and we know pretty good about it. It means why we have associated this review only with the books, etc. Review is everywhere. So basically my point is, let's know our variable in detail. So basically in the review, these are the 2 things we will do. First, please always look for how to measure variable. This is going to become a serious point, how to measure a variable. Okay. The second is, what is the relationship between the variable? Relationship between the variables will be called as the hypothesis. And this hypothesis, at the end, we will formulate collection of the hypothesis will become the model. So you study, you take like 2 variables, study about them on all possible scenario, all studies, landmark studies, people say, and then write about that in the section wise. So there are certain just 2-3 points about how to write. Writing hypothesis, writing a thesis, generally you should look for your university norms. If you are writing a paper, look for that particular guidelines for that journal, but how they prescribe that you should write like this. So these are the general things which people advise, that you must write in sections. You should not write in one go everything, write in the section. It's something like a relationship of stress and performance. So write all the studies there. Preferably every action should end with a hypothesis, and studies must be given in reverse chronological way. So these are just 2-3 from my perspective. So others you can just look for in your area. I have explained this in the month of April. I collaborated with the Campus Technology, and for 3 Sundays I took workshops. These are available on my YouTube channel also. My YouTube channel is Neeraj Kaushik. And you can go to, this is the playlist research methodology. In that, the first 3 are basically, we talked about the variable, we talked about the objective, how to write, all these things we talked about. So I'm not covering that portion. So one of my feedback in my workshop is, I start with any topic and then I end up with the talking about the how to write objective, how to type hypothesis, variables. So I've decided, no, this time I won't do it. So the link is there, you can just refer to that. Let's go ahead for that. And more important part is need for the study, also called as the rationale for the study. And basically we answer what you plan to contribute. Why this study? So that's okay. In the heart of heart, you say, well, to getting a PhD, to get my paper published. But more than that, can you please sell the idea, like why there should be one more study, but why should people be, looking for your study? So there comes always some sort of missing things. So it may be any missing gap in the existing model. Maybe you are contributing new to the theory. So you must tell this very in the start. It must be novelty in the study. Now, novelty may be taken in 2-3 ways. Either a new relation makes sense, right? Say I used to say that stress is something we have. Okay, Jeevan Singh had a question. I will take it a little later. So, stress is we have been working and studying on the step from so many years and the decades or maybe centuries. So, what's the novelty? So novelty comes as stress because of social media. Now, this is something new. Social media was not there earlier in 1950s, 60s. So we are talking about the stress that is caused by the people are not liking my post on the Facebook or Instagram. That creating some sort of stress to me. That's now something, a new variable come into picture, or a new relation come into picture. Like earlier, these were variables. This now a concept of a very popular concept of endogeneity, that always says that you always work on X leads to Y. You have studied in review, you collected data, you also proved it. But have you ever thought of that Y can also be an indicator of X? Y can lead to X. So this is reciprocal can be there, their relationship. So either a new relationship or a new variable, new scenario, which people focus a lot. People say scenario means the study has been done in Chicago, not done in Jaipur. So let me do it in Jaipur. That's okay. But if it's a new variable or a new relation, we'll be more happy. Please remember, you never do research for yourself, your family, your college, your university. No, or even your country. We do research for humanity. We always look for what is your value addition in the humanity, our collective knowledge pool. What is your addition in that? So that is what we should look for. Meta-analysis is a wonderful technique here that can help here. Meta-analysis basically says about, analysis of analysis, you can call it like this. So many people have done a study on this paper, and at times we have conflicting results also. Now from the conflicting results, what we can overall summarize, that's meta-analysis. And that can be a very potent tool to propose a new model or variable in a new model. Recently, I have put a complete playlist on meta-analysis. And this should culminate into formulation of the research question. So need for the study, that should be the mandatory part. Please, let's, there's some question. Question is about if the earlier studies were related only to correlation and we found a regression. Well, see, it's at the end of the day, it's how you put your things. Don't take any affirmation from my side that, okay, Neeraj has said it's done. No, it's not like this. Are you convinced that if correlation was there, you worked on the regression? So we'll talk about the difference between correlation and regression too. But whatever you do, you must be able to convince others that yes, it's something new, value addition is there. It can be new variable, new relation, etc. But depending on the statistical technique, I think that's not really very good that I used smart PLS and it becomes new. No, it's not like this. There's a question, question is, there are so many studies are available. How do you establish what to study? And title may vary. Yes, certainly, yes, title may vary. That's why we always work for our domain area. We never do research in everywhere. We do, it's a sort of a super specialization. So other part is, please look for, we got two sort of studies. The studies that propose anything new, or studies that validate the previous results. Most of the time, I think if I'm not wrong, it's 75 to 80% of the studies, they validate the previous results. At least in Indian subcontinent, people do it like this. They take certain data, certain model and check it. But as a, there is no contribution to the humanity as such. So that's okay. You proved it that, this model was made in Jaipur and it's working in Chennai also. That's fantastic. But did we learn something new from it? Perhaps no. So that's why people say that only representative studies should be, landmark studies should be taken. Now, again, the point comes, what's a landmark study? But that's a very detailed discussion. So I'm skipping that part. I'm covering only that part, which is almost essential. Validation of the study, yes, it's perfectly okay. But contribution wise, if we look from the contribution perspective, then if you provide any novelty, that's good. Validation is, again, nobody is denying that validation is not good. That is again good. But novelty is actually, putting the things in better perspective. So I'm just skipping these things because these are endless discussions, and I have done it in 2, 3, 4 videos which I refer to you. So I'm just skipping and going ahead with that. Objectives. So number one, people write just funny objectives. So let me say, I'm talking about the statistical objective. So two sort of objectives. I personally don't feel that they are very good objectives, like to study anything. For example, your topic is on stress management, and your first objective is to study the stress. Well, that you are supposed to do. It should not be an objective. You are supposed to do that. You are supposed to study about the stress and about other things. And likewise, there is a very funny objective at the last, to give the suggestion. So I always say it on the lighter part, that let's assume somebody has not written this. So he or she will not suggest anything at the end of the study. So what he or she will say that, okay, where I have written, I will give suggestion. So my study is complete, I am going home. I won't tell anything. So giving suggestion, recommendation is always an integral part. Review of literature is an integral part. So, well, to be on the safer side, I call them as statistical objective. The meaning of the statistical objective is where you have the variables. Now, from this perspective, I know people are creative. You can make 25 different ways of objective. Statistically, there are only two: to measure a variable, to find the relation between the two or more variable. These are only the two. So you measure something. For example, I can just ask you, are you getting something at this moment? So it's been 38 minutes we have started. So now this is, are you satisfied? This is one I'm looking for. Satisfaction can be one variable. I can measure it in a number of ways. Okay, that we will come little later, but this is only one. Then I can find the relation between the two or more variable. That's a different point. Find a relation between two. Now, if you look from statistical perspective, measure a variable, it's a more of a univariate. Relation between two or more variable, it's a bivariate or multivariate. It starts from this perspective. Every single thing in research is univariate, bivariate, and multivariate. Every single thing. Objectives are univariate, bivariate. Analysis that you know of, but do you know charts are also univariate, bivariate? Most of the charts that you make in Excel, they are univariate chart. The pie chart or the histogram, bar chart, these are maximum. So bivariate chart is a scatter plot. So think from this perspective of univariate, bivariate. So if you put a variable at the center, I assure you will be very, very comfortable with the research. Okay, let's go ahead and understand this term relation in a little bit more detail, because I say everything in stats is research. There is nothing else. There's a question, what is the difference between research question, research objective? Absolutely no replies to that, because I don't want to fall into that trap. Research objective is something like when you are connecting the variables. Find out the relation of this and this, find out the effect of this and this. Why I'm not replying? Because I have already replied all these questions in a video which I will just refer to. I don't want to repeat this again. I'm very sorry, I'm skipping this part, but believe me, there again, I'm explaining the things. You just go through the videos. If that's not clear, then you can come back to me with the email anytime. So research question, research objectives. Certainly there is a difference between the two. But first we will talk about the relation, because to me, every single thing is relation. Whenever we talk about the statistics, statistics is all about the relation. And what are the relation? Let's talk about the human life first. So when we talk about the human life, see, I got this diagram, and there is a red circle on a girl called Sue. Now from this Sue point of view, I have written all sort of, or the picture depicts all sort of for things like grandfather, grandmother, father, mother, brother, sister, cousin, uncle, aunt, son, all relations. Please remember, all the relations are from the perspective of Sue. We call them mom, dad, brother, sister, uncle, aunt, all those sort of the stuff. Okay, but if we look from these two persons, they are not each other's mother and father. For them, there is a separate name. It's called husband and wife. And likewise, for every single, any two people, if they take from that perspective, you will call that as a relationship. So it means, you know, these young kids, you know, it's always so fun to play with the young kids and ask them, what will be your uncle of your mom to you? Now, particularly in countries like India, where we get a unique name for every single relation, the things become quite complicated. And young kids, actually, it took a lot of time for them to realize that Nana is different from Dada. And then you explain to them, see, don't jump directly to the person. First, look from your parent. Is it from mother side or parent, father side? And then it will be named accordingly. The same I'm requesting you, that don't look at this correlation, regression, ANOVA, t-test, etc. differently. They are the exactly one and the same thing. They are part of the same family. So I was really surprised when I first learned it from Professor Andy Field. He says correlation and T, they are the same thing. T and ANOVA are the same thing, and even chi-square test is the same thing. They are all the same. So I was very surprised. How come they are same? They are so different. No, they are not different. They are all actually same. So we must understand these are all part of the bivariate. Depending on certain points, we will say this is correlation, this is regression, this is t-test, but they all are almost the same. They are members of the same GLM, general linear model. I have explained it in a playlist. It's one of the shortest playlist, only 2 videos, bivariate analysis. In 2 videos, I have explained, see, this is the data set. We will work with the correlation and regression. Then you change one of the variable, it becomes t-test or ANOVA. Change other, it becomes chi-square test. But the question is the same, interpretation is almost same. So few things, you know, measurement makes changes in your data analysis tool or technique. So it's basically the measurement. Please go through this video. The name of the playlist is bivariate analysis, and we have some important things to discuss here. And this is measurement and data analysis. Now, before starting the next section, I can take your questions, please. But certainly, I won't go into much of the detail. The first question, it was about what is the difference between research question and research objective. See, research question is something like, if you talk about the stress. So one of the research question may be that what are the causes of the stress? Okay, this is basically broad line I'm looking for, theme of my research. And then I can make the sub-objective as whether these causes of the stress are dependent on gender or are they related with a demographic variable. When we say objective, objective is nothing else, simply connection of the variable. That's it. That's it, nothing else. So it means objective and hypothesis also go hand in hand. They are also parallel. So there are 2 variables, A and B. And the review says that A will always lead to B. And you say, okay, we believe you. So you start working on that. So now your objective will be to establish, to find out what is the relation between the A and B. So that will be objective. One of the answer is already with you. Now, please look here from the perspective. In my workshops, I always tell a story of science versus social science. You know, science, it took almost 200 years for science to fully develop. So the most important thing in the science is there must be units. The units must be same. So first thing, look from how we teach kids in school. We start with teaching the units, SI unit CGS system. 1 meter is equal to 100 centimeter, 1 centimeter is equal to 10 millimeter, so 1 meter is equal to 1000 millimeter. and so on. Science starts from here, units. But whenever the moment we say social science, it's not for the, it's for the brave people only who can work on the social science. Something is going on in your head, and I am expected to know what is that. Now I must tell you, whatever we will do, we will never ever will be able to know what is going on at the moment in your head. So difficult to ascertain it. Despite the thing we have made so much progresses, we know so little about the brain, its functioning, about the thought. Once I asked one of my friend, what is a thought? How such a wonderful question. What is a thought? So I asked my friends, so people of medicine, they said thought is a potential difference. Even more complicated. What's the potential difference? So they said, well, there are billions of neurons, and neurons are all the time active, they're moving, and there is a thought also. Now, this is how complex the thing is. So point here is, when you measure, things becomes complicated. The point here is, what I want to draw to your attention is, see, science replicates. Science, the people have a word called empirical. So when they teach you Boyle's law, Charles' law, all sort of the laws they teach you, they give you a guarantee you do it anywhere. If these conditions are same, the answer will be same. But in social science, friends, it's never ever same. What makes a person happy, it may not be same in the different culture and different context. So in social sciences, generally we assume that yes, more or less we are the same human beings, but we are more of socio-economic cultural product. So what exactly we are sum total of what our culture has taught us, what is our economic circumstances, what is the society around us. I am just the product of all of these things. So it is heavily dependent on these aspects. So that's why the same thing may not work like science. Do remember that. So that's why research question is a broad part, and research objective is exactly looking for the relation between the two. There is a question about normality. Normality, well, people have really funny ideas about normality. Everybody thinks of normality. We'll talk it in maybe some other time in much detail about normality. I would love to talk to it. But here I will just give you a brief. Normality should be checked only for the ratio variable. To my understanding is in very simple terms. We always, whenever we study, do you watch cartoons or movies, etc.? So do you remember who's the villain of Batman? So for the Batman, it's always Joker with him. And likewise, whenever it comes to Aladdin, there is always sort of mechanical, maybe some other Abismal and other villains are there. So always remember these pairs, they continue in research also. So one of the pair is outlier and normality. So outlier and normality, they go hand in hand. So it means outlier is a very serious issue. But don't focus on the normality, focus on the outlier. You will be able to understand normality. So what is the outlier? Anything who is very much away from the rest of the persons, the rest of the concepts, the rest of that is called as the outlier. So what's the problem with the outlier? Most of our statistics is actually dependent on mean. Have you noticed this thing? So we start with the mean, standard deviation is computed from the mean, R is computed from mean and standard deviation, and rest, mediation, moderation, they are the parts of R. It means if there is something wrong with mean, can you see it's a spillover effect to everything? The change in the mean, and mean, the biggest enemy of the mean is outlier. An outlier will change mean like anything. So the moment mean is changed, can you see it's a spillover effect? That corrupted mean will have effect on standard deviation, both have effect on R, and R will have effect on mediation, moderation, every single thing. So who's the culprit? Culprit is the outlier. So look at the outlier. So when we say normality, basically it's a one way of saying that the maximum of the things fall into these limits, and certainly it's not the outliers. Outliers always lie on one of the side. So whenever you think of the normality, please think of in terms of outlier. Okay. So other things of normality, maybe we'll talk a little later. There is another question that this GLM is there, but should we focus on one test? Saloni, just wait. I will come to that test, etc. Remember, it's for the babies. It's not for the professors. This is for the research babies. So professors can please wait for some time. So please try to understand the things in its simple form. Okay, we'll come to this test and these assumptions and etc. Every workshop is going on that way, but let's focus from a different perspective. There is a question from Rishi Raj. He says, I'm working in AI and law research. How do I put statistics into picture? Okay. Rishi Raj, first let me share with you, I'm so happy you are from law. I'm also pursuing my LLM. And now I'm just thinking that, you know, every person should do law, because law is so, so wonderful. Because, you know, we study the concepts here, but law is totally different, ever changing, wonderful thing. But let's come back to the word statistics. You said, how can I put statistics into picture? What is the meaning of the word statistics? So to many of the people, statistics is just another form of math. So they say, no, we hate math. Remember, we hate math. We have taken commerce, we have taken arts because of this math, horrible math. And this is the same math. So first thing, statistics is not the math. It's a branch of that. What is statistics? Working on a sample and inferring for the population. Working on the sample. So please look, every single word is important. You are fetching a sample from the entire population, and then you are doing something, and on the basis of that, you are working for the population. Let me just give you a small example. Your mother prepared a recipe and ask, please check whether the salt is okay. So what you will do? You will eat up the entire recipe, or you will take one spoon. So you will take one spoon and you say, well, salt is less. Are you talking about that spoon? The salt is less in the spoon or in the entire recipe? In the entire recipe. See how fantastic these things are. Every single day, I am reminded of that story in a maybe class 3rd or 4th. The teacher asks, write the 7 wonders of the universe, of the planet. And being, you know, all wonderful student, they started writing Taj Mahal, the pyramids, this. And one girl writes, it's so wonderful. We can see, we can hear, we can listen, we can touch. Are they not the wonders? So look at the human brain, how they are working. It goes in every household on daily basis. Mother will say, check the salt. You will just take one spoon and say less. And mother, don't take some like a millimeter, centimeter. Will take a pinch and put and done. How fantastic. There's billions of calculations in one go. Maybe some years of experience is there and so many things. It goes in just one, maybe second. How we process it. So you need to first come to the statistics means, number one, you need to work on the sample, first thing. Second thing, after working the sample, you must work on the numbers. Because if you're working on the sample and conducting interview, we entered into the zone of qualitative research, which is again getting very much popular these days, at least in India. NVivo is a hot cake now. Everybody is going for workshops of NVivo, qualitative research. Okay, we are not working with the numbers. But here in the statistics, we are talking about the numbers. So when you are converting into the numbers, people's thoughts, opinions into the numbers and drawing certain conclusion. So Rishi Raj, it goes back to you. So please see in AI, in law, can you convert it back to the numbers? Can you convert it and make this? If you can do it, stats is there for you. Otherwise, as the legendary Funsuk Wangdu says, knowledge is free, you know, no harm in learning new things. But I'm also thinking, because in LLM second year, I have to submit a project. I've been told you have to submit a project. I'm just wondering how to submit that project. Can I use statistics in that? So there's another question from Priya. She says, why statistical tools are supposed to be taken up in the study? If it doesn't, then how will you write infer results? Priya, this is coming back to the same part, is that statistics, first you change your perception of the statistics. In India, there is a very famous dialogue which girls often use. मैंने तुम्हें इस तरह इस नजर से नहीं देखा था. So I didn't, you know, take you from that perspective. So I will request you to please, you know, have some kind look at the statistics. Don't hate the statistics. I call it as Dumbledore. If you remember Dumbledore, he was in the movie Harry Potter. If those who have not seen the movie Harry Potter, Dumbledore was the principal. It is always helping the Harry Potter and friends. Statistics is one of your best friend who will tell you, and I will just tell you, it's very, very simple. It's just fun. it's a very good friend. It will tell you, say, if you do this, take my help, I will give some more strength through that. So you may not realize, but there is something at the back end of statistics, that's probability. So if you are saying something statistically, it means there are a huge probability that you are saying it correct, 95%, etc. So we use that. So if you are coming back to a question again, if you are using the numbers, if you are first taken from the population, you are taken a sample, you converted the things into the numbers, then you can welcome to the statistics. Statistics is there to help you. There are very simple rules, common sense rules. Actually, problem which I see, the problem is in the post graduation or maybe in the graduation also. Most of the time in the name of statistics, we just do the things like multiply this column with this column, then add this column, then do the under root, then do this and that and that. And most of us believe this is a horrible subject. No, it's not. It's just a fantastic thing. I will just share with you. You know, in offline workshop, we play games. We do n number of activity to understand. Say, this is statistics. Because I remind all the people that most of the statistics was discovered, or you know, they settled the principles somewhere in the late of 1800 and 1900. Now these people were very lucky because they didn't had any computer or Facebook or Instagram or any of such things. All they had were the common sense. So all of the formulas are simply common sense formula, whether it's R or mediation or the moderation. It's so simple. You know, you can just like you go to the doctor look at your pulse and say, well, this is the problem. And you say, how come? He knows just looking at the pulse. So if you simply know how to look at the mean, median and standard deviation, I tell you, you can do wonders. But it's okay, everybody know how to compute then, but what is the meaning of that, people skip. So while going for the practical session of RStudio, I will just quickly connect those things. So how can we know the scale we are using, a reflective or formative? Varsha, right on the YouTube, Neeraj Kaushik reflective formative. A video will come and then watch that. Correctness aspect of a completely invalid of quality research. Well, Priya, I'm skipping this. I'm just running back because I will answer the question. Maybe such questions, because I will, you know, I will go to this, my same feedback that you are just discussing that aspect. Let me cover this. Maybe I will request Campus Technology, Suman and team, if we could connect in the evening also for such queries. If you have such query, certainly I will be happy to answer. I'm not skipping, but please allow me to be on time. It's 10:53. I got 37 minutes more. Let me quickly cover this section, and then I will come back to the questions, or maybe in the evening we'll talk about that. So we have some interesting things here, measurement and about the data analysis. So measurement. So it's the same thing about the science, which I told you, that the first thing we consider in science is units. So we always starts with, say, something is distance, then there is a weight, then there is a volume, then there is an area. You remember those questions? A farmer is putting a fence around this. So there you need to calculate the circumference. But if that farmer is digging, then you have to find out the volume, weight, distance, time, all these are separate. And then, you know, I remember the physics and the chemistry teacher always used to say, make the units as the same. 1 joule is equal to this much of the Newton, etc. Make the units as the same, and then the things will be pretty simple in physics and chemistry at least. Come to the social science. Social science, converting opinion or thoughts into a number. You do any damn thing, it's going to flop. You know, so we always start with the conditions apply. You do any such thing, at the end of the day, you will always find something is missing. So one thing in the social science, we don't have the perfect science, just like the science. Here 2 plus 2 becomes 3 also, 4 also, 5 also. That depends on number of things. But the situation is not that grim. We certainly have, we should start with what we are looking for. I run a group also, data analysis training. It's a Google group. So it's a simple data analysis training without any hyphen, etc. So it's a Google group. It's a free, open, anybody can read or write there. One question people all the time ask for that, you know, I have made a questionnaire, please check my questionnaire. No, I don't like to check your questionnaire. I would like you to tell me what is your objective, what are the variables in all the objectives, and how you wish to measure these variables. Please tell me, are you looking for fact or opinion? Ask yourself. If I'm asking that, do you have a car? Now it's a fact. You can't have an opinion about it. Either you have a car or you don't have a car. But if I'll ask you how much you like Shah Rukh Khan, now certainly you can have an opinion about it. That can vary. So first thing is look for either you are working on fact or you are working on the opinion. Opinion again, am I taking simply the textual data, that sort of interview, then the qualitative methods will come into picture. So there are so many, 5-6 methodologies are there actually, phenomenology is there, and other methods are there for qualitative. And quantitative, certainly we go ahead with it. So converting opinions into thoughts, this is sort of a table we can work on. Fact, we can, what sort of questions we should make? Though I'm not touching questionnaire design, that's a very, very separate point, a very detailed point. Some people say 5 points process is there, some people say 7 points process is there, but that's a fixed process is there, how to go ahead with it. I'm not talking about that. I'm saying just common sense based. Fact can be taken on multiple choice question, or it can be binary. Now binary, it's a wonderful thing. Binary, it's a subset of multiple choice. Only 2 options are there. And then we can have the open-ended also. Open-ended, like, see, I can ask your height. So I can ask your height, what is your height, dash centimeter. This is the first way, I call it as the open-ended. The second, I say, my height is above average or below average, or tall or short. Simply, now I haven't specified what is a tall, you reply. So that is a binary. Or I can give 5 to 5.5, then 5.5 to 6, 6 to 6.5 foot. This is the multiple choice question. So I'm free to measure in any of the way. I can take it in any of the way, whatever way. There is no restriction on that. But when it comes to opinion, again, 2 are the points, scale or rank. Now, rank is something you know, rank is again, I said it's such a complex thing. I ask you 3 Bollywood celebrity or Bollywood celebrity, I say rank. Now, actually, you should ask me on what parameter. You know, if let me give you an example of Shah Rukh Khan, Amir Khan, and Salman Khan. If I'll ask you to rank these 3, well, these are the Bollywood celebrity if you don't know about them. So if I'll ask you rank these, you should ask me on what basis. Their ranking on the basis of their personal appeal can be quite different to that of their box office collection. Their contribution to the society ranking can be different than their controversies. So it means you must ask me that on what parameter I should rank. But I say, well, there is nothing, you just rank. And you think of, okay, rank 1, 2, 3. Now, how you arrive at that number? What's going on in your head? So much things, in millions of things go in just a second, and you say, this is rank 1, 2, 3. This is you, the opinion, you convert it into the numbers. At times we say not the rank, but 5.9 point. These days people work on the 4.6 point also. That's called the scale. Please remember, these anchor points, 5, strongly agree to strongly disagree, or 7, they don't make scale. This is a myth and this is a mistake. People believe, at least a Likert scale, it's not that. Simply putting the 5 pointer doesn't make the scale. It's simply like you can write in the slide, or you can write like this, strongly agree, then it becomes MCQ. Isn't it MCQ? If you write 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it will resemble to MCQ. Scale is not that. Scale means if you ask the same thing again and again from the person, it's called reflective scale. If you ask totally different thing, then it's a formative scale. So I have explained it in the name of the playlist is Likert scale. In that I have explained it, or you can simply write on YouTube, Neeraj Kaushik reflective formative. Okay. Now out of these 2, I'm not going into detail. I am actually not touching nominal ordinal interval ratio. I'm not touching that. Reason being, there's a question that do we write from strongly agree to strongly disagree or strongly disagree to? Well, it doesn't make any difference. You can give code 1 to strongly agree or 5 to strongly agree. That doesn't make anything. Once I asked this to one professor that is there any particular way to write? Then he said, Neeraj, see, generally we human beings, we are familiar with x-axis, y-axis. On the x-axis, things go from left to side in the increasing order. Okay. So there, if you look for, generally people, it's a convention, it's not a rule. First, try to understand. Rule is something you have to follow. Conventions are, maximum people follow it because of this reason. But this is not you can't, you have to use it in any way. Conventions are, people use negative on the left hand side and positive on the right hand side. Strongly disagree to strongly agree. It is the convention. People believe. Logic I gave you, because x-axis increase on the right hand side, negative is on the left hand side. But there is no harm if you put other way, nothing will go wrong. Okay, you can put it in any way. Now, I'm not discussing, I'm not touching the part of nominal ordinal, because I got a weakness. I got very emotionally connected with that particular thing, and I take 1 hour or so in discussing that. So instead, what I will do, I will give you something. These two are called as the metric measurement. Open-ended question, things measured on actual units. So what are open-ended? Look for. I will ask you something and you have to answer me in numbers only. I ask you, what is your age? And you said, well, it's enough. No, that it can't be. You can't say it's enough. You have to write in years, in numbers, in digits. You must write it. And it's open-ended. Please look for. This is one area where outlier can peep in. Outlier, how can outlier peep in the multiple choice question? When I ask you, up to 10, 10 to 20, 20 to 30, 30 to 40, and 40 and above. It means anybody 40 and above will come to that there are the 5 classes are available. So there is no outlier. Binary, there cannot be any outlier. Ranking, there cannot be any outlier. I asked you to rank from 1 to 5. You rank 5,000. Well, that's clearly a mistake. 5,000, how can you write 5,000 when I asked you to rank from 1 to 5? Please look for outlier is not a typing error. Outlier is not a mistake. Outlier is a real number. Outlier is a real number which is present in the data. Now you have to look for whether we should do something about it or we should remove it. There are pros and cons for that. So open-ended, I am taking it, measuring something in open-ended. What is your height? Fill in the blank, centimeter, dash centimeter. You will answer me in numbers. And second is the scale. Scale, I mean here only the reflective scale. Scales are again of 2 types, formative, reflective, and it goes on. I'm skipping this part, and rather I will recommend one of my friend, Dr. Asha Chawla. She is again a wonderful resource person, and she is taking a lot of workshops. Very popular resource person, and she got a YouTube channel also. And this is one of her wonderful video. See, the duration of the video is 1 hour 23 minutes. So she's explained in measurement, nominal, ordinal, interval ratio in much detail. So I'm skipping that part because else I won't be able to complete my things. Let's come to data analysis, and we, with great respect, we remember one person who taught us so many things. So can you recall the first data scientist in modern India? I'm talking about the modern India. So sorry, it was not any professor or something. It was this guy. So this guy is, his name in the screen character was Gabbar Singh. It was from the movie Sholay. Now Sholay is actually a movie that should be seen to, you know, the MBA students. There's so many things they have given. And in India, now it's a part of like, not only classics, I will say it's something like we use every single dialogue in the day-to-day life. It's very much part and parcel of a common Indian person. So why particularly I pointed at this character? Can you remember any of these dialogues of this? The famous dialogues of this person? The famous dialogues are, okay, the very famous dialogue is Kitre Aadmi The. Okay, other famous dialogue is Holi Kab Hai, or how much is reward on my head the government has put. Well, he's a doctor. Oh, sorry, I'm saying doctor. He was a dacoit. But Gabbar Singh, can you just see in all the 3 dialogues there is something else. There are other dialogues also. ये रामगढ़ वाले अपनी लड़कियों को क्या खिलाते हैं. So he was very concerned about diets also. So he was a very curious guy. Just see, maximum of the dialogues are ending with question mark. So I found Gabbar Singh was always quantifying the things. He was always looking at the numbers. So that's why I called, he's a very famous data scientist. Data scientist means he's always converting all the concepts into the numbers. And one of the most curious guy I have met, though some of his actions can be debatable. Otherwise, Gabbar Singh was a very curious guy, always very curious, and entrepreneurship also, sort of, in negative sense. Now, I want you, particularly coming back to the field of research, I want you to focus one of the dialogue that focuses on the start of this data analysis. This kitne aadmi the? And remember, admi, I said the variable is admi. So we start our type of analysis by looking at the how many variables you have. The first lesson in this now data analysis starts with this, how many variables you have. So if you have one variable, obviously it's called univariate, two bivariate, and more than two, it's called multivariate. But the things are not that simple. How can they be so simple? So we have a condition supply. Just by mentioning the two variables in the objective will not make it bivariate or multivariate. So if you simply write about to study the satisfaction level and the happiness level of the people. Now there are two variables, but it's not a bivariate. It's called two univariate. I have explained these concepts in these two videos, objective as analysis and objective as analysis part 1 and the part 2. How to write about the objective, what words should be there while writing these objectives. So I promise myself that I will not discuss this today because else RStudio will go. So I know I'm giving you a lot of hyperlinks, see this, but don't worry. Number one, you can see me there. I'm explaining those concepts, so I'm not referring to anybody else. And the second point is, these are the things which are most important. What to write is very, very important than doing the things on RStudio or SPSS or anything else. That comes actually secondary. But today, my primary purpose is to give you an awareness about the RStudio, and just I wish you to fall in love with RStudio. And certainly in the RStudio, we are talking only about the statistical portion. But yes, statistical portion requires some knowledge about the statistics, research, basics, etc. So please cover them, else maybe some in other workshop will discuss only about those. So let's coming to this part, choosing the appropriate statistics. I'm giving you a sort of a table, though we discuss in detail the meaning, but here I'm giving you the answer. Answer is directly for the univariate. If you measured it by metric, we can apply the mean, median, and the standard deviation. For example, let's take an example. I decided I want to ask, are you happy? Okay, now this becomes a very complicated question. If you go to Punjab, in India on the northern side, we have a state called Punjab. So it's generally, on the lighter side, it said that if you go to any class in Punjab and you say, are you happy? At least 3% will be happy sing or happy core. One happy core also you will find. So see what I asked. I asked, are you happy? The person is said, yes, I got even my birth certificate also, happy sing. I'm happy and I'm always happy. No, this is not what I'm asking for. I'm having your state of mind. Are you happy? And this I want to ask. Okay, one variable, happy. Now how to measure it? I measure it simply yes, no. Yes, no. Simply answer is either yes or no. So it is considered as binary and it's non-metric. All I can apply with this is frequency or percentage. That's it. If I measure the same from very happy to least happy, and I ask the same statement in maybe 2-3 statements, the same concept, it will become as a reflective scale. There we can use the mean, median, and standard deviation. So it means, look, it's a 3-step process. First is the variable. You choose your variable. Variable is measured in a way, whatever way you measure will decide the technique. So you're free to choose any variable. Nobody is restricting you. You have to work on this variable. You choose your variable. You choose the way you will measure the variable. You are totally free. But once you decided this is the variable and this is the way I have measured it, now there is no freedom. You have to comply by these guidelines that if it is metric and one variable, then mean etc. is applied. If etc. these are applied. The point here is, most of the people, they write univariate objective and then they say, we have to, my guide has said you must apply regression. So what is your objective? Objective is to check the awareness level. Now just if you please close down your books for a moment and just look at from common sense, what will be the answer? To check the awareness, whether people were aware or they were not aware. And since you asked for the awareness level, it may be yes, up to here, 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 here. This is the level. So it's a univariate. Where comes the other variable? Where is the other variable? How to put the regression or correlation? So there must be. You know, I always call these people, it's something like you have decided that you will get married by evening. So other people ask, with whom? You know, may it be anyone or not, but I have decided I will get married by evening. So for marriage, you require one more person here. So there must be something else for making it bivariate. Univariate means only you can apply mean, median, or count, etc. The problem is when you write your objectives, when you write your research proposal, you are least prepared for that. You know, the same like marriage. When you are going for the marriage, it's all pinky dreams and the roses, etc. But you are least prepared for it. And by the time you understand, then it's too late. Maybe such workshops can come handy in that. So going for the next one is the bivariate analysis, and little bigger bivariate. So if you have two variable, one is called a dependent, one is independent, means you must know about it. This is dependent, this is independent. First thing you must know about it. And then both are measured on the metric. So what is metric? Either you have taken it from database, or you have taken it from open-ended questions, or it is the reflective scale data. In that case, we apply the regression. Now, if you just go one step ahead, if it is metric with both are the open-ended question, then comes regression. I want you to please remember, friends, see, stats has no problem. We human beings have the problem. Let me tell you why. When we write 1, 2, 3, 4, so any software, any sort of stats will say 2 multiplied by 2 is 4. No problem with that. 1 multiplied by 4 is 4. Okay, so these are the numbers, they have this property. But later on we say no. 1 means education up to 10th class, 2 means education up to +2, 3 means graduation, 4 is post graduation, and 5 means this. Now please remember, this is your way of working. You assigned a code with the numbers. Okay, so statistics or any software will still believe that you have written 1, 2, 3, 4. It means I'm just answering this question of what is metric, what is non-metric. If you can say 4 is 2 times 2, where you can use the multiply and divide, that is metric. Ask yourself. I assume you know a little bit about the research, data collection and data entry. We should actually start with the data entry. If you know about the data entry, you give the things into code. When you give the things into code 1 for boy, 2 for girl. Now I'm not saying that girls are twice the boys, because your code is saying so. 2 is 2 times of 1. But I'm not saying girls are 2 times of this. So when you're just assigning the code, it will be called as nominal. It could be anything. It could be 21 or 22. It can be 101 and 302. It's a code. Generally we say, when you see a number written there, I remember Sachin Tendulkar, it was jersey number 10 and Saurabh Ganguly was 99. So 99 doesn't mean he's a better player than Sachin Tendulkar or he's 9.9 times better player. No, it's simply an identifier. 99 means on the ground, it's Saurabh Ganguly, and 10 means it's a Sachin Tendulkar. That's it, nothing more than that. When you can say this is more, this is less. When it comes like take education, UG, PG, PhD. Now, will PhD will be considered more qualified than UG and PG? Yes. If you say yes, then this is more, this is less. When you talk in terms of more or less, when you put into order, ascending or descending order, it is called ordinal. Okay. When you say, but can you say that the gap between UG and PG is 2 years and PG and PhD is 3 years? Can you say like this? Not sure, because there are PG which are of 3 years, PG of 4 years, PG of 5 years also. UG of 2 years, 1.5 years, or UG may be more than that. So we cannot say their gap between the years is this much. We can say, all we can say is PG is more qualified. How much more? We can't tell how much more. We can't say this much units more. No, we can't say. All we can say, PG is more qualified than UG and PhD is more qualified than this. That's it. When you can specify gap between the various options. For example, class 8, 9, 10. Now, can I say class 10 student is senior to both? Yes. Can I say class 10 is 1 year ahead of class 9? Yes. Class 9 student is 1 year ahead. Say 1 year, I can quantify, it is interval. And when you say my age is 40, you are 20, so I'm twice your age. It is ratio variable. So regression is basically made for the ratio variable. Please try to understand them. The moment you understand this, that regression was actually made for simple things like mathematics, where 40 is 2 times 20, where 20 is 2 times 10, or where 4 is 2 times of 2. There, now next question you should ask, then why, when we are going for scale question, UG, PG, PhD is an example of a non-metric. Yes, it's an example of non-metric. So two things constitute non-metric. One is nominal measurement and your ordinal measurement. Both constitutes non-metric. Type of question, it's MCQ, binary question, ranking question, they all constitute non-metric. And formative scale also. Metric is very simple. What is metric? Where you can apply mathematics directly. 40 is 2 times of 20. That's metric. And the second thing is, when you work on the Likert scale, now tell me about the Likert scale. I asked an opinion about, let's say, Salman Khan. So how much you like? First person said very much. Second person said, okay. Now, what is the difference between this okay and very much? How much is it? Can we quantify it? This much units? No, we can say very much certainly got higher feelings for Salman Khan as compared to the person who said okay. Okay means this is also in positive, not in the negative side, but very much is certainly high. How to quantify that thing? So can you quantify? Can you say very much is 2 times of much? Can you say strongly agree is 2 times of agree? No, you can't. You can say this is more, this is more, this is less. It means, can we apply two variables measured on scale, reflective scale? Can we apply regression? Technically, no. Technically, no. First, we must put certain qualifiers. Qualifiers means, did you ask the right question? That is called validity. Did the other person understood what you are asking and replied consistently? That is called reliability. Validity is for the person or instrument. Reliability is for the respondent. Okay. So we'll talk about this reliability, validity, maybe some in other in detail. Or I have talked actually in much detail in the 3 classes I have took for campus technology in the month of April. The link I have already shared. Please refer to those videos. So we can make a correction here when both are metric. If both are ratio, then you will use simple regression. If any one of them, dependent or independent, happens to be scale variable, then first you should apply validity and reliability. A collective name for them is called CFA. And then you are allowed to go for regression. CFA plus regression will become as the SAM, another hotcake. Everybody is going for SAM now. You know, it's so funny. I say that I will conduct a workshop on regression. Then I get queries. People say, why don't you conduct a workshop on SAM? So, well, SAM is nothing but regression. SAM is the same thing, regression. Only thing is, since you are having a scale variable, it is good to check whether you ask the correct question. Otherwise, the things will become like this. I am asking for happiness thing. I asked, are you happy? And person said, yes, I have a birth certificate. My name is Happy Singh. Both are correct. I asked this right thing and he asked the right thing, but this is not what I was looking for. So validity and the reliability comes into picture. That is called CFA, and then apply regression. It becomes SAM, structural equation modeling. When dependent variable is metric, independent are non-metric. Please remember, non-metric got one more name for making the things easy. It's called categorical. When you ask anything in the categories, option A, option B, option C, may it be binary question, dichotomous question, may it be multiple choice question, it is always non-metric. I think that will be much simpler to understand. So that's we apply parametric test, t-test and ANOVA. When both are non-metric, we apply cross-step. And when dependent is non-metric, it is metric, it is for the logistics regression or linear discriminant analysis. Going ahead, I have written these commands. This is not for you at the moment. These are just the same things, mean, median, sigma. In the red, I have just used what are the commands in RStudio. This is only for your reference part. Maybe sometime later you can just come back. So this is what I intend to cover in this today workshop. So today I will cover univariate, summary tools, table, chi-square, and maybe this cross tabulation, etc. And tomorrow we'll quickly go through hypothesis testing, correlation, etc. Discriminant I may skip. This portion I will cover because I will cover in so much in detail the meaning, the assumptions, the actual meaning of those assumptions. Those tomorrow I intend to cover that part. So this is just for your ready reference, and likewise these are the for RStudio functions for the plot. Okay, now I will discuss in the second session what is RStudio. So many myths people have. People assume, you know, funny things. Whenever we say we will have a workshop on RStudio, people will say, well, but I don't know any programming. Well, who asked you that you should know programming? Or people will say, I don't know, you know, mathematics, etc. Or do I have to type? Well, dear, for your kind information, you know, when you work on Excel don't work that you think and it's start working. You need to type there something, at least 3 alphabets, and rest of the things Excel will do. Absolutely same. RStudio is almost 80 to 90% same that of Excel, but much more powerful. Very, very powerful. It's sort of a genie. Okay, so we will start with the RStudio in the next one. So I'm stopping here. I'm well on time. Being on time is good because you can always skip the answers and you are on time. So I still have the 10 minutes. Now 10 minutes you can ask any queries in the chat box. Okay, so let me see the query. Good morning, sir. I don't think it's a query. So I want to search. Okay, let me go one by one. I want to search the economic impact of religious tourism on the overall development of a region. Okay, that's really good. Manu, please look for, we will come to your queries just little later. First, you answer my questions. I have an objective. Objective is, in India, in just last few years, we implemented GST. So my objective is, I'm working on that, and my objective is to study the effect of GST. Can you please help me in knowing the variables? How many variables are there in this? To study the effect of GST. This is my objective. How many variables I have? How many variables I have? One variable. Okay, which one? GST is a variable. So if I'll say to study the effect of GST in the small scale industries. Okay, let me make it more clear. My guides told me that this is not a good objective. So I said to study the effect of GST in small scale industries. Now please look for, in small scale industries, GST will be same for everyone. Okay, whether it's 8% or 18, it's the same for everyone. Now how come it's a variable? It's a constant. And you want to study the effect. You have not given what you will check. So yes, what you are writing now, change in the text collection, etc. It means, look, first be very clear. When you write objective, you just write funny objectives. Things are pretty clear in your head, but it's nothing known to other person. To study the effect of GST in the small scale industries, there is 0 variable in that. Small scale industries is a context. GST is basically the context, and GST in the small scale will be fixed. So there is no variable. Now coming to that, you say, okay, we will measure this, we will ask this, that are the variables. So my humble request is, I'm saying it again and again, don't ask me questions. Tell me the answer. Instead of asking, I'm checking the effect of A on the religious tourism. Dear, religious tourism is not a variable. What actually on religious tourism? Maybe the number of inflow of the people. Yes, that's a variable that can vary. Production, supply, revenue, etc. Yes, these are the variable. Religious tourism is not a variable. Are you getting it? I'm not just playing with the words. I want you to sensitize you. Think in terms of variable. Please think in terms of variable. What is a variable? Because what is the variable? The second question will come, how you will measure it. And third will come, what tool and technique you will apply. We cannot apply tool and technique on the invisible things. That's in your thoughts. No, it has to be on the paper. It has to be in the form of a number. Only then tools and techniques will come. So first think in terms of that what exactly is this case. So write an objective, write the statistical objective where things are very much measurable. You are able to quantify those things. Please write those things. Okay. So now the question is actually, Objective should be based on literature, but for novelty, we study new relationship. How we justify without the proper review? Well, answer is there itself. You must do the proper review and must think in terms of the variable, only then write the objective. Otherwise you will just, get into a trap. Getting into the trap means you start your things, you are studying a lot, you have idea, but when you are putting into the paper, there is nothing. The things must be quantifiable. Anything that you can ask people, other people can reply, those sort of stuff. Next question is from Ifra. Is it necessary to do CFA for an adopted scale? Yes, 100% yes, Ifra. It is mandatory to do that. Reason being, whatever you have measured, won't you check whether it is correct or not? What if people have given the very conflicting things? The purpose of the reflective scale is, then when you ask the same thing again and again, see, I ask you, how do you like Shah Rukh Khan? You said a lot. Okay. Then I ask you in some different ways. So your answer must be consistent, isn't it? If somehow you say, for example, let me take very simple, very simple question. There are two statements. I like math, strongly agree to strongly disagree. And second is I hate math, strongly agree to strongly disagree. It cannot be much simpler. The person answered in both of them strongly agree. I want you to conclude. The first statement is I like math, strongly agree. Second is I hate math, strongly agree. Please conclude. What you will conclude out of it? You will say maybe the person was not interested, or maybe he was not reading it properly. Something is mistaken. How will you conclude it? So once you conclude, you have taken something from the respondent. Shouldn't you first check it whether things are okay? That's why we say reliability, AVE, all these things. We use this so that we know for the both. See, you are doing research and you are presenting the things to somewhere else, to somebody else. If you're doing for your own, that's okay. Every single person conduct research, and this is only applicable to them. For example, whenever I wear a red suit, always things go wrong from this side. Whenever I take this pink chunni, things go like this. Is small research people conduct and they apply only on them. Be happy, absolutely no problem. But when you want to publish it, people will be interested in knowing, were you okay? Did you follow the correct procedure? Did you ask the correct questions? Validity. Were the respondents understood what you did? They replied correctly. This is called reliability. If you are not referring reliability, validity, then what is the point? What's the fun of doing the things if you can't ascertain these things? So yes, it's a mandatory to do CFA for an adopted scale too. Adopted means it's a myth of standardization. People say it's a standardized scale. Dear, it was standardized in that geographical territory. A scale made in Canada may not be applicable on Karachi. Please remember that. We are different people. We think differently. So it's not like if somebody is doing in Germany, so we are doing the same way. We are working in social science. Remember that always. Yes, you need to check it. There are some more questions. Can we apply this test on image data converting into the array? Yes, Sanjeev. Certainly, if you can put into the numbers, look for the two conditions I mentioned. I'm a representative of statistics here. I'm representing two things on behalf of stats. Number one, take a data from the bigger one. Okay. The second thing, convert into the numbers, and then whatever you will do on the basis of probability, we will assure you most likely this will happen in the population also. Do you understand what I'm saying? You work on the smaller sample on particular, if normality concept is there, your concepts are normally distributed. That means if there is no outlier, these are okay. Then on the basis of that data, we will say 95% probably, we will say the real results will be like this. This is what we'll use with the statistics. It lies with you. It lies with you how you can work with the numbers. So people of statistics won't answer you that how to use numbers in AI or in the image data, etc. No, but it's coming back to you. If you can do it, we are ready to help you in that. Likert data is taken as the scale data. Is it interval? Is it near you? Yes, it's Safura. It's not between you and me. I will show you the big bands of professors they are fighting, Safura. People are fighting, they are saying, you know, Likert scale is a interval scale, and these are the reasons. There are the people who say Likert scale is an ordinal scale, and these are the reasons. And this is an eternal debate from maybe more than decades, this debate was on. Some people, depending on how they take Likert scale. So it's some people work on the individual statement, some people work on the summation of all. Remember, Likert call it as summated rating scale. Some people take the sum and then work on the basis of that. But again, you can sum only and only when it's reflective. Only and only when it's reflective. You cannot sum when things are formative. You must have understanding of reflective formative. I call Likert scale is formative scale, is not Likert scale. It's an ordinary 5-point scale. Likert scale is a reflective scale. There is a question from, I think it is a reply to that. Variables can be number of inflow, employment generation. That is in the context of spiritual tourism. Yes, correct. If we use standardized scale, we should go for CFA. 100% you should go for CFA. Maybe I will take a session, separate session on EFA and the CFA. Please leave EFA, CFA, because it's a lengthy discussion. It cannot be answers something like in 2 lines. You know, had it been this the case, then you would have already got the answer. It's not that scenario. EFA, CFA requires detailed discussion. I'm not skipping this discussion, please, but today is the day for R. Okay, Manu says one last question. Last question means, Manu, you are signing out from this session. Can we hypothesize beforehand, or is it explanatory research, or where we go impact after completely this? How to reply this? This question says, can we hypothesize beforehand? Hypothesize beforehand, what is meant by beforehand? Beforehand, data collection and data analysis. Yes, hypothesis is always before data collection and data analysis, but hypothesis you cannot make from your own. You know, when I write my first paper, I share you one thing. I wrote something that R should be 0.4. Then one of my mentor asked, who says R should be like 0.4? I said, well, everybody says. He said, stupid, not everybody says, right? The reference there, who said it? It should be minimum this value. Not something like everybody believes. This is not the way everybody believes. You cannot make a hypothesis that I feel like this. No, it's always, so that way we have to again start back from the type of study. Descriptive study always starts with the review, and from the previous review you take something. You make hypothesis on the basis of previous review. So certainly it has to make a beforehand. Beforehand, I understand, before data collection and analysis. So after doing the review, you make your hypothesis. And I can take a last question from Luxana because it's already 11:31. My topic is service quality performance of this. I want to ask, can I do PhD on your topic? Luxana, yes, I love to answer these questions. Most of the scholars, they believe like, you know, PhD is something like there is a red carpet and every university is saying, please, please come. And we will give you, you know, fees also. At least in India, Roxana, the scenario is totally different. I assume the same in the other countries also. Number one, you need to go to a university, appear into a test, then choose a guide, then comes, every guide works in an area. So this question should be answered by that guide, not me. You can put some funny topics. I can give my consent on that to no avail. This question should not be asked to me, can I do a PhD on this topic? Ask to your probable guide to this question. First, get into a university, get a guide and ask this question to them. No need or ask in such public platforms. The role of mediation moderation, certainly we will discuss about that. I'm stopping about this one because time for this session is over. I'm very sorry I'm not taking the questions because the point is, these are the questions which I say, you know, should be handled on the 0 day or -1 day. These are the questions related with the research which we should know. If you are not through, then it's okay. We can have one more session like we had on the objective review, model building, etc. And this should be more. I really appreciate Dr. Sajid. He takes only on the fundamentals, theory and these things. He is making people very strong in the fundamentals. So maybe you should attend his sessions or we can conduct this session. But today I have given you, I know I have given you very, very elementary knowledge of this minimum thing I'm touching for being on my contents. So let's take a break here. Already I have consumed your 3 minutes. So we'll start at 12 and there we will start with the R story.